Jo Leute, was geht? Herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Livestream auf meinem Kanal. Okay. Chat, Digga, es ist so scheiße, dieses Ding hier wegzubekommen, ne? Wer? Aha. Cup startet gleich. 4 Minuten noch, Leute. Dann beginnt der neue Cup, sozusagen. Ich glaube, das ist schon Finale, aber ich weiß nicht. I don't know. Leute, dann am 5. Dezember, das ist ein Samstag, Leute. Merkt euch das. Ne, auch ein Livestream, Leute. Auch. Ja. Lol, als ob die Roboter und so schon da sind und dann das Flugzeug erst ankommt. Lol, wusste ich gar nicht. Aber ich muss mein Handy mal aufladen, hat noch 90%. Startet gleich, Leute, in 3 Minuten. Jetzt sieht man alles, Leute. Geht schon so. Ich bin gehypt, wie die Leute spielen gleich. Oh, eigentlich seit 2 Minuten ist der Cup schon online, Leute. Seit 2 Minuten. Ey, Digga, ich hasse diese YouTube-Benachrichtigung, ne? Ich hasse das. Das ist auch mal wieder eine Truhe. Da liegt ein Medikit. Da Minis, da Stein. Sonst sieht man nix, Leute. Aber doch, da unten liegt, glaube ich, eine Waffe. Aber bis jetzt ist kein Dumm. $1 Million Super Cup, Leute. Hier ist Stark Industries, Black Panther. Auch mit dabei, Leute. Alle Fähigkeiten gibt es hier, Leute. Wirklich alle. Lazy Lake ist da hinten. Und Leute, gesehen habt, Leute. Der Live-Event Countdown ist endlich in Fortnite da. In 10 Tage also am 1. Dezember, 22 Uhr, Leute. Merkt euch das. Ist das Live-Event. Seid unbedingt da. Ja, guckt es in meinem Stream. Ich werde vielleicht streamen, Leute. Aber nur vielleicht. Ich werde es vielleicht streamen. Ich weiß aber noch nicht. Ich glaube, ich werde streamen, Leute. Höchstwahrscheinlich streamen. Ich glaube, ich werde streamen, ja. Safe. Ich weiß aber noch nicht. Kommt drauf an. Muss ein bisschen vorspulen, ja, ne? Ja, geht so. Lol. Dann geht's erstmal. Paar Sekunden. Und Leute, jetzt geht's los.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome to the Marvel Super Cup. We are here aboard the helicarrier for some action unlike anything you've ever seen. And of course, we've got some well-known heroes to help us call all the action. It's Sancho West, it's Sundown. Heroes, how you guys feeling?
I am so hyped for this event. I'm the guy, okay, listen everybody, don't get mad at me out there. So I'm the guy that wanted to see Unibeam in a competitive setting.
Der Linke lacht einfach
Here we
immer.
are, the Marvel Super Cup, and we got all the Marvel power. Zeke, I am excited. Sundown, how about you, man?
I am so thrilled to be here, to be able to see these guys and see all of these powers. Typically, there was only one on the map. Now they're all over the place, so we're going to see who's able to utilize them in a traditional Battle Royale format. We're going to see the moving zones, we're going to see Marvel powers, and we're going to see some of the best starting off in Europe battle it out.
Oh man, I'm getting hyped. Now guys, we got to talk about some of these powers, so walk us through, because there's quite the arsenal at these players' disposal.
No problem, Zeke. I got you. So, we're going to have Iron Man's Repulsor Gauntlets have the ability to send a lot of Repulsor blasts with 20 HP as well, using a nice air blast. And of course, Iron Man's Unibeam. And Sundown mentioned it, double Unibeams inbound is going to cause major chaos here, especially at in-game.
They're 90 damage apiece, and they will go through those builds, so it's coordinated. However, there's a big old laser beam that lets everyone know
schon
where
welche
you are.
Leute.
It's now
Viel,
gonna
was
flip
haben wir
on
alles
over.
schon
Now
verpasst?
there's Doom's
Dirty
mystical
Dogs
bomb
auch
coming
was
out
los.
there. It will
Dooms erkannt
break
hat
builds
Schuhe.
and light stuff on fire. Now we're going to see his version of the gauntlets. Those are his arcane gauntlets that also rain shots from afar and lets you get a nice little flying boost there.
Absolutely, and we have the new Venom Smash and Grab that goes through builds and brings the opponent right into their grill.
Krass.
And hey, the follow-ups with the shotgun pumps, and now
Gut
we have
gemacht.
Thor's Mjolnir
Ja,
hammer
auch
coming
gut
from
gemacht.
the heavens, raining down terror
Ja.
from above, and the ability to break down builds.
Yeah, that Mjolnir strike, very strong, but another way of breaking down builds there. That's Wolverine's Claws. You can see nice little 3-hit
Ich glaube,
combo
das ist
going
von
through there. A
vorhin,
little bit of
ne, wo
health
die
regen
gespielt haben.
added as well when you have those equipped. But
safe.
we've talked about the strength of those melee powers, having a gap closer, having a disengage, but then also having this huge stun that can come out from She-Hulk's fists there. I mean, we've seen it be used a lot in the Super Cup, but in Battle Royale can offer a ton. But now our female representation also hopping on over there. Storm's Whirlwind Blast can break builds and negate projectiles in a close range, so tons of use for players there.
And of course, Black Panther's kinetic armor has the ability to kind of negate some of the damage and sends a big repulsive blast at the very end. And now we have something as well that we like to talk about, Group's Bramble's Shield. I Am Groot allows you to kind of have those flashbacks to the baller, regain some HP, actually make some insane elevations as well. But Sundown, this is probably going to be the most important powers for the day.
And it's Silver Surfer's board, the ability to disengage, rotate, but then also drop on top of your opponents, break builds instantly. It has some of the highest utility, but more importantly, we've seen some of these competitive players, they have a little bit more experience with the Silver Surfer board and the Groot Shield. It was an arena at the start of the season, so you can anticipate they're probably a little more comfortable with those types of powers.
100%. Of course, guys, this is the Marvel Super Cup. It is $1 million tournament, and there's a lot of awesome things Marvel-related happening inside and outside of Fortnite. So we got to take a moment. We got to talk about all these things. Now, the first one, in case you haven't opened the shop in a hot minute, there's everyone's favorite anti-hero has shown up to play. It's Venom. He's here. The symbiote has arrived. Become one with Venom, for our Venom. He's got an emote that's built into the skin, a pickaxe, and a back bling. I mean, this guy is absolutely incredible. If you want to pick him up, he's in the shop there for a little
Die
bit
Pickaxe
of
kann nur
time.
mit Venom
Next up,
Skin
the other
gespielt
thing that was
werden,
announced
Leute.
today is the final battle. The Devourer of Worlds is coming. Galactus is inbound. So prepare
Genau, Leute, am
to save
1.12.
all reality
Live-Event, wie
on
ich
December
euch vorhin
1st
schon gesagt habe,
at
Leute.
Eastern. You
Leute,
will not want to miss
ich
this event. It's
freue
gonna
mich,
be
Leute.
absolutely
Es wird so
insane.
geil, ne?
And the final thing is,
Kampf
hey, we're heading
gegen
into the final
Galactus
weeks of
am
the Nexus
12.
4 season,
Am
and Fortnite's Super
1.12.,
season is
Leute.
powering up
Ist jetzt
with
irgendwie falsch rum,
Disney
keine Ahnung.
Plus. From now through December
Disney
31st,
Plus
2020, when you
juckt mich
purchase
nicht.
V-Bucks or make any real money purchases in Fortnite, you'll receive up to 2 months of Disney Plus. You can learn more over at Fortnite.com/Disney Plus. The Marvel news that just keeps on giving. There's so much happening here.
Ich werde vielleicht Livestreamen, Leute. Also seid dabei. Ich werde es noch in dem nächsten Livestream oder Video sagen, Leute. Ist ja eh erst nächste Woche. Irgendwann, ja, in 10 Tagen, Leute.
Let's talk about the broadcast itself. What you guys can expect as viewers. We're talking placement.
Am Dienstag ist es noch eine Woche.
Points. We're going to break it all down for you.
Wird
Don't
wahrscheinlich
worry. The
Livestream.
first thing we're going to talk about is the overall tournament format. So we started in that open format that we're kind of used to seeing, but from there, it is the top 1,000 players that moved on to round number 2. And that's what we'll be spectating here. At the end of the competition, Sancho, we'll see some new heroes join the fold.
Und 1
Absolutely,
Open
man. We're
und
gonna
eine
see a
2 Top
superhero
1000
and a
und dann
sidekick.
kommen
I
die
don't know
Gewinner.
what it's gonna be at the end of the day, but hey, it's gonna be a well-earned championship to be the Marvel Super Cup winner. Considering going from opens down to top 1,000, this section here, it's just gonna be very chaotic, Zeke. And Sundown, the format in itself is gonna be really good for the people that know how to play placement.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. We've been able
Guck mal,
to
Leute,
see it
wenn
in kind
das
of
von
some other
links nach rechts
competitive
so
formats
leuchtet, ne,
and some other
seht ihr immer diese
competitive competitions,
Fähigkeiten, die
but
es
one thing
gibt.
to note is there's plenty of ways for
Und die
them to be
Beben,
able to
sehr,
utilize
sehr
and earn the
selten,
points. Don't
Leute.
forget,
Uni-Beam,
this is unlike the knockout
sehr,
cup, this is
sehr
traditional
selten.
battle royale. So we're having a duos format coming through. There's 50 teams who will be loading in. You can see the first placement point is
So viele
granted after
Punkte kann
5
man
teams have
insgesamt
dropped.
holen,
And once
Leute.
you are into the
55
top
Punkte
25,
innerhalb von
one
einer
point
Runde.
for each
Und dann
hero
plus
dropping.
Kills,
However,
Digga.
the kicker towards the
Boah.
bottom there, each elimination is 5 points. So if you want to go and be a little bit aggressive, you have that option to go through. Additionally, you can see in the top 3, there's a little bit of added points going on there. So very placement heavy. However, the option to play aggressive is there. And we'll see how these players will utilize the Marvel powers to do so.
Ich wurde heute einfach 3. Platz, Leute, mit 3, 4 Kills, glaube ich. Aber ich bin leider nicht weitergekommen. Ich hatte nur 100 Punkte. Aber 100 Punkte ist schon nice, ne? Wir haben nur 5 Runden gespielt, circa. Aber keinen Sieg haben wir geholt, leider.
What you guys are hoping to see, whether that be powers that you hope you
Erst
utilize
auf
in this
$4.000.
way, or maybe because this is a dual competition, powers you guys think will be good used together. So
Checkt das nicht, warum das $1 Million heißt. Ich glaube, weil es da $1 Million zu verschenken gibt, aber sonst weiß ich echt nicht, warum das $1 Million Ei, ich hasse das, ne? Ich schwöre, ich hasse das bei YouTube-Livestreams. Immer diese Lags, wirklich immer.
The melees to kind of disengage, but then also kind of those movement options from the Silver Surfer board and the group Bramble Shield, because again,
Da oben ist das Unibeam. Über dieses Sundown ist das Unibeam. Genau über Sundown. Sundown, keine Ahnung.
Oh man,
Das sieht man ganz
guys,
kurz.
I'm getting so excited for you at home. Fellow heroes, let's take a seat on the helicarrier. It's time to kick off the competition. So let's send it away with our heroes as they'll be our eyes in the sky. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Zeke, and welcome everybody to Game 1 of the Marvel
Leute,
Super
es hat
Cup.
begonnen.
It is
In
time
Doom's
for a
Domain.
good time. Thanks to Tony Stark for making the alterations. Our battle bus is looking decked out, and I gotta say, to seal something, it's Marvel, baby! Here we go. I am Sandra West alongside with Sundown, and I'm excited to see what our competitors can do with these great powers.
Everyone always asks, when's Marvel? Well, it's right now, and where a better place to kick it off than Doom's Domain, the vault underneath, offering a ton of added utility, and we see a plenty of contention coming through. But again, don't forget, in this
Zwei
moment,
Teams
this
fighten.
isn't the only place to get powers. They drop all over.
Zwei
our
Lila
floor.
gegen,
They pop out
zwei
of chests.
Grüne.
So you can already see Reyes
Einer
sitting on the
Silver
Silver
Surfer von
Surfer
einem
board.
Punkt
He
krass.
also has the rare pump as well as an epic LMG and AR to be able to pressure close here. His partner Vertex Sterna on the outside.
Der hat
He
ihn
knocked
eiskalt.
right away on the ESP dove and get the conversion to try and get the additional.
Der hat den eiskalt
siphon.
geholt.
Again, we do have the arena rules coming through with some
Krass.
slight alterations in the form of the mats.
Oh,
that are
er hat
dropped and the
Unibeam,
mat
Digga.
caps.
Krass.
However, the siphon HP will still go over, and you get 5 points per each elimination. So right now, already seeing 5 plus the 1 from 5 duos already dropping.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that you're familiar with as well. It's like the way, same kind of play style, the same kind of mechanics,
Dummy
especially
Skin
in
ist
game.
sehr low,
Like you
Digga.
mentioned, the mats are going to be limited, the vehicles are disabled, motorboats have been
Ist
disabled.
Facebook gerade dabei?
And
Ich
as
weiß
well,
gar
the
nicht.
big factor is there's going to be multiple superpowers, Marvel powers, throughout the entire island that you could stack. And that's what's exciting to me. Double Unibeam,
Nimmt
double
zwei
Silver
Leute
Surfer, like
Unibeam.
all those
Ah, das
options
sind
as
noch
well.
mehr
But at the
Leute.
same time, Sundown, when we get into in-game, there's going to be multiple duels rocking these kind of Marvel powers as well. And the question is, we kind of mentioned it when we were kind of thinking about what this will be. Marvel Knockout LTM, it was kind of like almost like a fighting game. A lot of trades, a lot of understanding who's going to be stuck in animations, who's going to be vulnerable to any kind of hit. So I'd be interested to see who kind of has that experience playing in the Black Widow Cup, playing in the Ghost Rider or the New Venom Cup. That's going to be interesting to see. I think those players have a little bit of slight advantage. But the big factor is how can you combine that advantage alongside with the Battle Royale game sets?
Yeah, that's the one thing that's really big to me is the fact that we haven't seen
Alle
this
bei den
combination
Hausfeinden,
with
Alter.
those moving zones towards the end where we're going to see a
Krass.
lot of placement points going through. We actually saw in Asia overnight during round 2, Storm Surge ended up being a factor. However, we can anticipate in Europe a little bit more aggression coming out from there as Stena right now sees the box double Unibeam. We talked about it right away and Dubbin on the receiving end of that. So going to get rebooted
Krass.
only to get sent right back down, and that's the problem with getting stuck and bogged out in an early fight. Good punish.
Ich habe
good
auch mit meinem
coordination
Duo
right
direkt
away.
erste Round
Can
6
they end
Punkte
up closing
gehabt.
it out? A 24 white tag
Oder
with
mehr,
the follow
glaub ich.
with the
Alter,
LMG
16.
will be the completion there on
3
the plays,
Kills
and then
haben
a
die schon.
huge shot right there. Very well played from Stena, but he needs to create a little bit more distance because as soon as they have that Unibeam combo up, as Rayad is able to get Andin, they should be able to combo out this last opponent. Instead, not even going to bother. Says,
Lol,
I got
26
that pump
Punkte,
shotgun.
süß.
Sundown, going to stick with that.
You see, that's what's really interesting. You know, there is that habitual way to get in, to engage, to go
Zwei
to old
und
school
der
box fight.
Teampartner
But at the
2
same
und
time,
er hat
Sundown, the
keine Ahnung
safer
wie
play would have
Leute,
been
den
just to
wir
wait for the
alle geholt,
cooldown
krass.
of the Unibeam to come back and then send another big blast right through the builds. That would have put a lot of pressure on the teams that are inside the boxes. So,
Das
you know,
sind zum
hey,
Beispiel-
Raid and Stena are doing really well.
Wie viel hat
5
der
games
eine?
at 25 points so far,
3.
26
5
with
Kills.
placement to
Krass.
kind of get them started. But at the same time, you know, hey, you could definitely do that double Unibeam again.
We've talked about it, just how powerful it can be when you're getting bogged down in those fights. So being
Ja,
able
das
to
sind noch
resolve fights
viele,
quickly
Digga. Auch
and
2
utilize the
Duos.
powers. So from one vault to another, over from Doom's domain to Stark
Lola.
Industries in the battle right here on board with Lola Huabe and his partner 78 Everlast.
Jeder
Already
hat
three
unten
eliminations, has
Unibeam, Alter,
Unibeam,
irgendwie.
as well as the rare pump and an epic Stark Industries. But the Unibeam comes through. We talked about it though; it is a little bit telegraphed. So if you are able to kind of react
Der hat ihn
and
richtig
get away from it,
hochgenommen,
now
ne?
you have an opportunity to punish or potentially counter Unibeam, as you can say, Huave trying to line up a shot.
That was like a scary moment, as all of a sudden you see the Unibeam trajectory coming through. But yeah, I like it. You know, the sound of the effect as well lets you know that you're about to be blasted on. And now Huave now is going back to the Fortnite skill mechanics, gets Doxy
Der ist
right
wirklich
there
ein
with a
Gold,
kind
krass.
of cheeky shotgun blast, and now it's a 2v1
Hallo, Ola.
situation. And we've been watching Fortnite competitive and duo since. 2v1s, it's going to be wrapped up very shortly, especially with these Marvel powers. Just a moment, here we go! Bang! Huawei sends a big old Unibeam blast and
Krass. Auch
disintegrates the
5 Kills,
competition
ne?
easy.
Auch 26 Punkte.
While he sends that blast over,
Dank
he
fünf
saves
Kills.
Everlast by the skin of his teeth. Look there,
Warte,
barely even see a
fünfmal
sliver of green
15
in
bei
the
mir,
bottom left-hand
25,
corner.
ja.
However,
Krass.
with all of that vault loot, he's going to be able to go, pick up a med kit,
Krass.
pop that real quick, get whatever shields back, and they're going to be happy
Da
walking
sind
away
2
with
Duos und da
20
kommt noch
points
ein Duo.
plus the one
Krass.
for placement. Right now, you can see a little bit of blast coming out there from Dr.
Ja.
Doom's Arcane Gauntlets and good
Oha.
follow-up from the pump right away. Dougie 1X going down, and then he's going to evaluate the Mythic Hall and decide what he wants to take with it.
Boah.
Hey, yeah, you saw
Da
right
liegt
there,
einfach nur
Storm's Whirlwind
Schatzplatte.
Blast. That's available. That is something that's going to be a
Komm,
dark
wenn
horse
ihr beide
power.
jetzt noch
It's
3
a great
Kills holt, ne?
defensive. It
Krass.
prevents Unibeam, all projectiles. You
Ich
can
auch
actually
schon.
send back Doom's mystical bomb.
Direkt
So I'd be
wegen
interested to see
einem
who gets to pick that up, and then more importantly, you could break builds. And if you're in a build fight, you could kind of use that whirlwind blast and send someone out with some fall
Zweiter
damage.
Kill.
But they're going a little bit in with the old school weapon ways and gets a knock on Krizix. Now Barty, now this is where you don't want to be because we all know what's going to happen. Like you mentioned, Sundown, it's Unibeam bait.
And now quite literally stuck between a rock and a hard place as the shakedown comes down. Zaryx and the rock going to know exactly where that opponent is. Again, going to be able to evaluate the mythic loot, see what goes on there. Not going to that epic pump, kind of the bread and butter for most competitive players. The one-shot opportunity offered from it, incredibly strong, but you already see the Silver Surfer board being used, but then Dr. Doom's Arcane Gauntlets using the nice little float and fly to close the gap right away, knowing the cooldown won't get him out of there, and Zariox puts him in a blender. Barty's going to go back to lobby and queue back up there.
Yeah, and when we were playing the Marvel Knockout LTM, when I was playing it, where I earned the Venom outfit by being top 200, I don't know, with
small flex.
Komm Leute, da ist noch ein
Little
Duo.
thick flex with Clay Staley. But we noticed that the Iron Man Repulsor Gauntlets is a great chase down Marvel power. If someone is in white HP, you can essentially chase someone down with that lock-on ability once you get in certain range, and the ability to get that air blast to be right above them. There's just nowhere to run. The only defense against Iron Man's Repulsor Gauntlets, for the people out there who's getting ready for the NA East, I'm going to put a little bit of a tip right here for you. The only defense is, let me get build.
Leute,
build
die kommen von
it.
links.
It's really weak against the builds, and if you could build to prevent those 20 HP tags, you could survive a little bit longer. Same things with Doom Arcane Gauntlets. Builds will prevent you that. But at the same time, we mentioned you have to have that Battle Royale game sense, and the gatekeeping will be a factor. So Ray and user 1, ADD34BB41 have a nice opportunity to get an easy elim, unless that other team over there has like a big-time Marvel power to surprise them with.
Yeah, and you can see them utilizing those Bramble Shields to try and close the gap there, get a little bit closer to the opponents. However, not a ton of excess shield or utility. They want to be able to pick this up. They need the refresher right now, and you can see him trying to keep priority positioning, as right now Igor is popping what I think is a medkit to try and get his white HP back up. We've already seen 22 duos drop, still 54 players remaining. Shockwaves and the Bramble Shield in hand, so some build destruction opportunity coming through, and instead it's going to be vertical Shockwave straight up and above. Ray going to take the high ground away, and User now going to build right on up to join him.
This is going to be a kind of a stalemate for the moment here. See who's going to be able to walk away. This is barely Zone 2. This is still arena rules. Zones 1 through 4 will go through center. The Shockwave goes up, retaking heights. So right now you see Ray and User. They only have Groot's Bramble Shield. That is a kind of recovery or a defensive thing. Is not going to be really strong offensively, so they're going to have to rely on their Fortnite skills. And with a nice barrel stuff right there from Ray, now Ray is only having his partner User down to the sliver of HP. But time is going to be a factor considering this is a good old-fashioned on-edge storm fight.
Checking in the bottom right-hand corner. Nobody in range right now, so right now the Storm is going to be what the pressure is, and User with very low HP is actually going to end up taking over. So while they will get the revive there, no, instead he's actually going to utilize the regen coming out from that Bramble and saying, hey, we got the fight right when we needed it. If the other team had been able to keep a little bit of pressure, it wouldn't have mattered. But that HP regen from the Bramble Shield as well as the mobility, going to make that Storm fight a little bit less risky, as now we're going to hop on board here with FN Lewis, and you can see has the Unibeam, also has the Silver Surfer board, so they're going to line up a little bit of AR damage here and then probably look to close the gap.
Yeah, you know, those are the kind of passive Marvel powers as well we have to think about. We have Wolverine's Claws, the ability to regenerate health. We have She-Hulk's Fist, the ability to regen health. So that's going to be able to kind of supplement or overtake any kind of health. Minus shield, of course, but you can kind of think about that, and that's going to open up your inventory. We'll see who's going to be able to have inventory. I mean, we could share things like that, but I think the team so successful is the ones that can be really creative. Bang! Double beam. Noms gets disintegrated unexpectedly. You got to be careful. Those simple mechanics of you boxing up out in the open, it's not safe anymore, brother.
Yeah, you can't box up, you can't get caught off in rotation and let him know that you're on a board. If you take one singular tag, it puts you in that double unibeam range and being able to take it down there. Lewis is going to get the confirmation onto Noms there after the shakedown to get whatever information they can and head towards the center zone. So what does that mean then? If a double unibeam on a box is basically 180 effective damage at once, how do you defend against that? Well, the first thing to note is you need to build out more than just one box. If it's a singular box, then it is very obvious where you are and it's going to be able to line up, because all it takes is one failed unibeam or one failed double Unibeam to then
Weil
have
viele
it in
sind da.
return. You can't carry multiple of the same Marvel powers in there, so it's not like you can stack your entire loadout with just Unibeams going on. They will share the cooldown, so double Unibeam gonna come out there. Don't think they're gonna find a confirmation onto it, so now they need to be a little bit more cautious, and that's what we talked about, either building out multiples of these bases or doing a little bit of the Booga special and building scarecrows, Sancho.
Yeah, kind of making yourself bigger is like maybe a blowfish tactic as well to be a little bit more dangerous. But let's take a look at the zone. It's going to be a Sweaty Sands finish. We have the north side here. Coral Castle could be a factor. Like I said, this is an arena kind of settings. Zones 1 through 4 are going to be centralized. Zones 5 will be that half in and half out. Zones 6, 7, and 8 will be those rotation circles going fully into the storm. And, of course, Zone 9 will be the ultimate end game, all coming down to a complete close where the storm overtakes the entire island. And that is where I see, the Marvel powers being a huge thing. I mean, a big factor with the Bramble Shield, the She-Hulk's Fist, the Wolverine's Claws could hold you on closer. But FN Lewis is relying on the Unibeam in some great way to initiate the engagement as a spear. But as you're seeing, there's a lot of arrows around the distance, and you got to be wary, as you got to be careful because the Unibeam could come in. So I agree with you, Sundown. You got to build a big mega base so the people have to guess where you are when they're initiating that Unibeam blast. But hey, there's nothing.
Definitely feels like it when it's right on top of you, hitting those body shots as well as the headshots. But Reese Hub, one of the casters and analysts coming out from the FNC, has talked about how strong sitting in a bush is. Well, Larice says, surprise, see you sticking out there. You can see if you do aim down sights in a bush, a little bit of your barrel will stick out. Now they're going to begin to spray and try and close the gap. You note, Larice opting not to carry any of the Marvel powers right now. Dezino going to clean up right.
Butler, dass das jetzt leckt.
On that instant knock, they're going to be able to confirm on build out with whatever excess mats they have there, and then be ready to just fight for this fourth zone.
Is that a choice from Larice? I gotta wonder if he's not deciding to rock with the Marvel powers, but more on that later, as Felix and Fredar are having an ultimate gatekeeping opportunity here on the north side of the safe zone at Coral Castle. Gonna do a nice chase down here, and that person is just trying to fight for this match lives. Quaveri unable to utilize any kind of mobility. I mean, he did have the Silver Surfer, but he did use it to vault over the waterfall. So when it's being stuck on the cooldown, it's something we got to talk about as well. Managing cooldowns, which is a new layer into, let's just, I just love Fortnite. They're like, we know our game has a lot of actions per minute. Let's just add some more. Let's just make things a little bit more interesting and add a new wrinkle to the dance.
And it's really interesting to see how they're able to incorporate it as we see now.
That's
coming out, Silver Surfer Board trying to be used to rotate towards this outside as the other Marvel powers are going to end up knocking Freddy down. And now Felix probably regretting leaving those chug splashes back in the zone as he's going to rely pretty much solely on his shield health here with only 28 green HP or white HP. Those are the tags that end up coming out there. You can see that, the green bar on the bottom. See Orb and Demon Jet Scoop. Great position on the side to be able to rain down shots here. Instead, going to opt Silver Surfer Board directly on top of him. Good 54 shield tag right away. Already sitting on 5 eliminations as well. We can expect to see some decent aggression over the course of this early game. And then the players with the higher points will begin to be matched out. We'll probably see a little bit of denser lobbies, but right now...
But not so fast. A Unibeam could disintegrate all of it in one blast. And that's going to be interesting to see how it goes down. But now we're just seeing a great mixture of traditional play and a lot of mistakes happening. People leaving up their edits. And I think sometimes it could be overwhelming and a little bit scary to hear Unibeam going up. And now you have Thor's Mjolnir coming in. And that's a nice disappearing act with that use of the Silver Surfboard. And oh my goodness, I like what I'm seeing here from Sniping a Custo.
Really good job from Sipe loading it up there. I mean, first, the burst shots he hit over there on the Darker were just fantastic, but then recognizing where the opponents were unable to combo on the first player who utilized the Silver Surfer out, but a really good job of just pressuring opponents in the build. The difference with the Thor's Mjolnir strike, it comes vertically down, which is great for harassing that high ground like you talked about, but it makes it so much harder to kind of instantly defend and rebuild. We talked about kind of similarities to some older Fortnite
nein, der
weapons
merkt
going
nichts.
through. It's the Junk Rift, Sancho.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's the Thor
Oh, yeah.
hammer coming
Oh, yeah.
directly down from the sky.
Top
It's just so
16.
hard to combat against. But right now, Sipe using all of his tools with
Top
a nice
15.
little jump shot there with the epic pump, and they also pulled that 5th zone, the half in, half out, so you can expect them to try and get whatever
Felix.
excess resources possible and kind of expand out their base, because players are going to begin rotating into them. Because we're going to rotate on over to Shagrin and Column.
And this is, they exactly pulled half in and half out. The 5th zone is going to be half in the safe zone, half into the storm. And now you're seeing, for the first time you're watching, a lot of Marvel fans out there, maybe the first time watching Marvel Fortnite competitive here. This is where things get a little spicy. All the people that are not safe are going to make these dangerous rotations, and a double Thor hammer. Okay, went to Unibeam. Okay, combo wombos left and right, Sundown.
Just the double Thor Mjolnir strike. Again, we've talked about it. Very similar to those junk rifts. It's a little hard to defend against, in particular with the limited amount of builds here. It burns through right away. If you're able to force somebody to kind of have to build up 2 new boxes, all of a sudden, that's a much larger percentage of their builds than it traditionally would be. As you can see right now, Dezinho and Larice boxed up on the high ground. The question is, did they go too early with the limited amount of resources and the number of Marvel powers that are going to be able to pressure? As you can see, Colm and Shagger trying to utilize the crash pads to force somebody back down their level, but not quite finding it.
The mat caps have been lowered to 200, 200, 200 versus 500, 500, 500. So it's essentially cut in half as Shagger picks up a nice knock with the shotgun blast. So that is what they're dealing with, as well as the siphon has been lowered from the mat per elimination to 20-20-20. So that's the kind of things that, all these, Dezinho and Larice, they've competed together in a lot of FNCS tournaments, and they are used to those kinds of things. But they're definitely used to these rotations, and considering that they're sitting at height at the moment, they have a really nice priority to that zone, considering it is in the northeast. Let's take a look around. Who is in this match? We have various players who are not exactly have the front priority, so there's going to be some crazy rotation here. The story here for Shaq and Colum is, can they make it sitting that they're sitting dead center, Sundown?
The one thing I want to note is Shagrin has the 3 floppers, has Thor's Mjolnir strike, as well as the Silver Surfer. So if he does end up having an opportunity in the late game to kind of go for that high ground, he has plenty of utility, and you can actually see he's going to opt to drop the Mjolnir strike, the aggressive Marvel power, to then he's actually going to drop the Shockwave as well to pick up more utility in the form of shield. So it looks like he's trying to set himself up for a heal off or a late high ground take, utilizing the Silver Surfer board. Up on the high ground, we still have Larice and Dezinho. No, they've actually left. It's Restil and Nerone who are just above them. So the Become Legends player has been forced off the priority position. Shagger's going to get a refresh there. Onto Rayox as well. That's their 4th elimination. 47 points so far. And again, don't forget, every single duo that drops is an additional placement point coming through, and a great double shotgun coming out there. We talk about the combos. Well, sometimes it's just all about the weaponry and the gun skill, as they own a bunch of this space. Good wall replace as well. Got the wall replace on the inside. We're trying to force everyone to kind of rotate through this building. Unibeam comes out, not quite going to find a target. Instead, opens one up. Shagger and says, no, this is too dicey for me. Silver Surfer boards out, but not quite going to necessarily find the space that he wants, and only down to 2 mats now, Sancho.
Yeah, you got to be dangerous using Unibeam on that low ground. You may bring a lot more competitors than you expect. Now the rotation is going to go north onto the beach side of things of Sweaty Sands. It is the 7th zone. Shagger and Column, we've been seeing, by being on this low ground to mid-ground level, you could rack up a lot of elims here, because a lot of people are going to be in shambles. The interesting question is, what's it going to look like with the Marvel powers in play? We already saw a couple competitors drop Thor's hammer, and we all know that could be a big factor. Buggy here, having the Silver Surfboard, as well as Groot's Bramble, is in a tough spot. Now it's going to go solo.
Ich wurde einfach 3. Platz. Ihr müsst euch das vorstellen. Jetzt leben 6 Leute und wie die jetzt schon bauen und so, Alter. Wie die spielen. Ich habe in diesem Zeitpunkt noch gelebt und habe 3, 4 Kills da geschafft, ne? In dem Moment. 4. Okay. Jetzt bin ich gestorben. Wirklich, jetzt bin ich gestorben. Mein Bruder war schon lange down. Auf einmal, ich habe trotzdem noch andere Leute geholt und so. Ich bin jetzt gestorben. Auf einmal kam Top 2 und dann auf einmal, boom, hat ein anderer so Instant-Sieg. Weil das auch noch ein Solo war, der andere. Oha.
gets knocked off of the wave. Silver Surfer trying to ride to the height, and Buggy back to back slaps down the wannabes. He says, today I am the Silver Surfer. I'm the owner of the high ground, and I'll be taking match number 1 here on the broadcast of the Marvel Super Cup EU
Das schmeckt,
region.
Digga, dieser Headshot.
Wow,
Ne?
the Herald of Galactus, the Marvel power of
Okay,
the
war kein
Silver
Headshot, war ein
Surfer,
normaler
ringing
Body.
true when you all thought it was all said and done. The solo clutch, you called it, Sundown. Over rotation, that was high.
90 Punkte innerhalb von einer Runde, okay.
Man, Zeke, what
Und bei
do
mir
you
hatte
think,
jemand
man?
direkt
Marvel
über 100
powers
Punkte.
colliding with the Fortnite universe.
Man, I gotta give props to Buggy there. I mean, this is why you want to hang on to that board toward the end, right? The moment that it's like, okay, everything's kind of going hectic, we know people are gonna shoot for high ground. No, I could get up there with the board. Guys, how was the overall feel from the first game? I think the only thing that I want more of is like more powers, right? We're seeing a lot of these players run around with like full loadouts and then a single power. I feel like for me, if I'm gonna compete in this, I would save board and then I would just have 4 abilities, and I would just be rocking those things on cooldown. Because with limited builds, you're like, okay, I put up my 1x1. You're like, here's my Mjolnir strike, put up a box again. Here's my Unibeam, keep wasting resources, you know.
That's true. I like that idea, Zeke. I was in my mind when we were watching it in game. I was thinking, man, what were Wolverine's claws or She-Hulk's fist do in this situation? Because She-Hulk's fist could kind of launch herself up and break some builds. So that would have been a big factor. And you mentioned, Sundown, Thor's hammer being dropped there. That could have been something that could have been utilized in that in game.
And you have a kind of a smaller room for error in this mode as compared to the Marvel close situation, and it feels really bad to not be able to do anything. I still think, though, that we need to see a little bit better coordination between them outside of the double unibeams, because there's so much potential from these plays.
See, I gotta say, it just feels like, you know, we're like, yo, we can have all the Marvel powers, and sometimes like, wait, think about it, fellas. Use your brain for a bit. And I'm like, oh, man.
I think, though, for me, it's like it's a duo, right? So you have one guy, you just load him up with powers, right? We saw actually halfway through the game, there was the double Mjolnir strike that you guys got so hyped about. Like, that's so sick because that just prevents enemies from building. The moment one hits, their immediate thought is, okay, we have to box back up. With the second, at that point, they're burning resources. With 200 total cap per each material, you're just
Der
burning through the
Samstag kommt
resources
ein
for free. All
Livestream
you're wasting is a cooldown.
und
And that's why I
danach
wanna
den
see so
Tag
much power. So,
auch.
like, for me, if it was like us paired up, I'd be like, guys, you guys
Morgen
take all
kommt
the
auch ein
weapons.
Livestream,
I'm
nur
gonna
ich
be
weiß nicht, was ich
Mjolniring
streamen
every
soll.
moment I can. Unibeam on cooldown. It's all coming out. Now, the other side of this, actually, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Because, like, for example, the Unibeam, we saw one in the very early game, but you can see the laser. So if you're paying attention and the laser comes through your box, you know, like, okay, I have to back up. How do you guys feel that some of these players are faring against?
Ich schwöre, ich würde Fortnite streamen,
They're doing well. I think
könnte ich
they're
Fortnite
kind of using
spielen
their
auf mein
builds
Handy.
to kind of get around some of them. There is defensive Marvel powers like Storm's Whirlwind Blast that could easily be the kind of thing where you could just stop anything and you could cause destruction at the same time. I think as the day goes on, you're going to see a lot of players. I mean, they already got in a lot of games already just to make it from opens here to top 1,000. But when the games get a little bit more stacked, it'd be interesting to see what falls off the quote-unquote meta.
And I think one of the biggest things in the way we'll see is they're going to keep trying to min-max. So when you're going to see a big rotation of items is when you can kind of box and then rotate through and drop in the inventory real quick.
Zweite Round, Leute, beginnt jetzt. Wenn das laden würde. War klar.
Alrighty, dighty. Let's see who's gonna rise to the.
eben wieder vorspulen, weil...
Seeing this combination of competitive Fortnite play, the Marvel
Na klar
powers,
sind da wieder
the
welche
end
gelandet.
games, all of the early skirmishes, you already see Unibeams flying all over the place here. So we're going to drop on in to Stark Industries.
Leute, ich spiele jetzt gerade erst die erste Round.
Getting
Der
lit
und
up from each one of the sides, trying to rotate over to his duo right away. Has a decent early game loadout here in terms of the rare weaponry, but no powers on deck yet, so going to be at a disadvantage to anybody who's able to find him. You can see somebody closing the gap right away. Patchett going to go down there. That's Chapix closing the gap there. One of our very well-known European players, and he's going to be able to close that right away. You can see BL Hen 1, if that is the actual Hen, one of the strongest players in the world right now. Become Legends player, has been dominant since his Cash Cup victory on his birthday. Looking to continue it here in the Super Cup.
And speaking of birthdays, a shout out to happy belated birthday. If I don't know, Reverse 2K, happy belated birthday out there. You know, turning 20 years old. Now, congratulations. You are a boomer in the Fortnite world. Retire soon. I'm just kidding. No, it's so exciting to see all of our favorite people. But what I wanted to talk about as well is that this kind of tournament here, Sundown, is going to give players that normally don't compete in the FNCS competitive a taste to that. And I kind of talked to you in private about how the Marvel Knockout LTMs, the Ghost Rider Cup, the Black Widow Cup, all those things, the Daredevil Cup, gave me that sense of rush of what it feels like to be a competitor going up against, like, you know, this kind of a setting. And that's what I'm excited to see. Like, maybe it'll be a new name that we've never seen standing on top of the board today, and that's going to be exciting because that could potentially maybe launch their content creative career, maybe launch them into the Fortnite competitive scene, and after they got this nice taste, that sweet taste of victory.
And I mean, we talked about just different ways to compete, and I always go back to the fall skirmish of old and how there was a bunch of different type of like competitions and mini games, but so many different competitive players got their start from there. Use the example of the World Cup runner-up Rojo 11, aka Smash Dave, now who we saw win that wild card match, ended up just pushing through and getting kind of in that submission. But right now, back to matters at hand, Chapix just gets bonked by Synox, utilizing the group Bramble Shield to close the gap there. Then the legendary pump doing what it does best, hitting some huge shots. Now it's going to all be on Hen to 1v2, and we've talked about just how good Become Legends youngster has been, but can Synox put him on a poster early? And he does. And we talk about getting those moments and getting your name out there. Synox, you effectively just 1v2'd two of the strongest players in Europe. Very well done there.
Hey, man, there's a lot of great players in the Fortnite competitive scene. Yeah, maybe they spend some time playing pubs. Yeah, maybe they spend some time messing around with the Marvel Knockout LTS. But they got some skill, and that's what I'm excited to see, who's going to be able to do these things. But to steal a joke from one of my favorite NBA basketball players, Manu Ginobili, everybody gets on a poster. Everybody gets blocked. Everybody gets dunked. But when it happens on the Fortnite broadcast, hey, a little bit of something special, a little bit of spice. Right there, but now we're seeing whole arm Wartle with a little bit of a slow start to the day's day, but hey, plenty of time to turn that around. You effectively have a set of matches to get up into the top of the board, but as sooner or later, you're going to have to kick it up a notch here. And let's see if Wartle and Derek Dorvik could do that.
And you talked a little bit about the format there. For those unfamiliar, it's one of the kind of more traditional open queues, and what we mean by open queues isn't necessarily that anybody's able to go in, but it's not just one chug splash coming out already. That should signal the go.
I like that combo. That was hot, man. That was a very creative combo that maybe would have worked if... Ooh, there you go. Now you're creating some more pressure. There goes the Silver Surfboard just to get away from the pressure, but only one teammate's able to get away, and here it is. The chase is on. Now, the cooldown's going to be on Thor's hammer for a bit. He can kind of get that ready and go again, but the close the gap with the Silver Surfboard into Thor's hammer, that was nice to see. If he only connected with that Thor's hammer, I think this engagement. But hey, you got to remember the fundamentals and build. Don't get too greedy because someone can kind of beam you in the back. And that's what's going down with Wardle, as Naslik now is on the offensive.
Yeah, and you can
Weil das
just
sind,
see how dangerous
kämpfen
it
grad
can be
solo
now down to only
sozusagen.
14 builds. Gonna utilize first meal strike to try and drop everybody down, but
40er
instead misses
Fallschaden,
the
das ist
water,
nicht
falls
gut.
off of the side of the bridge, says, ouch,
Das tut
that one
weh.
hurts. Now gonna be forced over to his partner. Utilize his builds. Don't forget, if you are a duo, you can share those edits, so you can edit your duo's builds, get inside that same box. And while Wordle is popping his shields and getting back, you can see Derek actually opting to aggressively drop him in. Wordle doesn't have it way over yet, as the Silver Surfer board is still on cooldown. It's a little bit of one of those shorter cooldowns. However, it is still there. You can see the Mjolnir strike coming out from Derek. However, he's going to go down. 248 white tags, though. Signal to go again. And as soon as the Silver Surfer is off cooldown, Mastic ends up getting dropped on top of his head in a good trade out from Wartel, but with only 10 builds and now taking white HP as well, he's going to need to disengage back over to his partner. Good rotation of the ability there, opting to pick up the Bramble Shield to then get over, but can he cover? Because if anybody is able to get a Unibeam, a Mjolnir strike over a Mystical Bomb, they're going to be in such a tough spot.
And you already see the third party coming in with the Silver Surfboard, and that is
Und
Twitter
noch welche pushen so
746
ekelig, ne?
underscore, being aggressive alongside with this
Ja,
duo
beide
mate,
down.
Wampy, and they were able to close that out quickly. That's how dangerous these Marvel
Da kann man
powers
nichts
are.
machen.
If you don't have the experience of the glider redeploy of the lore days of the Fortnite world, if you don't have that experience, you could see how their timing is a little bit off. And that
Ja,
is
von den
what's
meisten ist das
interesting
jetzt
to
erst
see
die
going
erste
forward. All
Round.
this is what I love about Fortnite, is the ability you have to be
Ja, 3
adaptive. Is an
Flashing Points
underutilized
schon?
skill.
Echt?
And Fortnite loves to throw
Nein,
curveballs just
doch,
to make things fun
oder?
and to give other people an
Nee, noch
opportunity
nicht.
to compete. And I feel like these curveballs are gonna have some new names, and that's what's really cool about this.
And I'm also of the opinion that the best Fortnite player in the world
Also ist bei denen jetzt schon die zweite
regardless of
Round.
game mode, right? And I think
Ah,
if you can say
und in der
that
ersten
to the
Round
format
haben die
between solos
2 Punkte
or
nur
duos
geholt.
or trios,
Krass.
the way I objectively look at it, like in my opinion, is the person who performs best regardless of if they are solo or if they are playing in the Marvel Super Cup or if they are playing in the duos or trios, because all of those are applicable Fortnite skills. It's one of the reasons why I have so
Facemon
much
gerade und so spiele ich
appreciation
mit.
for Mr. Fresh.
Eigentlich voll
Somebody who
traurig,
plays
Digga.
in quite literally everything from pubs to arena to these tournament modes and have great abilities. So right now, double Unibeam right away. We talked about it. Boxing up, solo on the side, effectively signals the dinner bell in right there. Tutty and Desire going to be able to combo it out and clean up as Arzox goes down.
It has collateral damage. It could go through multiple competitors at the same time. So if you're stacked and sitting next to each other in a box, one Unibeam could effectively put 180 HP damage across 2 players. So that is something that Desire did right there alongside with this duo mate Tutley. And they have a decent start as well. They're one of those ones getting into the wave, trying to get the start here. 8 points right now. And the way we're doing it here on the broadcast for Fortnite is we're going to... Oh, no, not Scooby-Doo. The whole thing we're doing here on the broadcast is that we're going to jump in between all the kinds of games, and then once it gets closer and closer to the close of the queue times, we're going to try to
Unibeam hat, Digga, man muss direkt
find
davon.
like close to winning the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and those menacing kids won't have a say in the rest of this match. It's now Desire and Tutty are doing a great job cleaning up the elims here and then also getting over and making sure they get whatever excess loot. They're doing a good job of ensuring they're up at maximum builds. Now, what does maximum builds mean? We've kind of talked about it. There is a lower mat cap than traditional competitive Fortnite. Normally, you have 500 available of each resource that you're able to farm up. In this circumstances, it is only 200, which means under that elimination counter next to his name, where you see kind of that little wrench and hammer, that's the total build numbers. It's going to be out of 60. So Desire sitting just below it. But what they're wanting right now is some excess heals and shields for Tutty. If he gets even sniffed by a Unibeam, he's going to end up going down there. So right now, they're going to rotate through Stark Industries, try and hit the campfire here to top off on the white HP. Hopefully the smoke signal in the sky doesn't send off too much damage. But right now, a supply crate within distance.
And this is what's interesting as well. We're going to have a in-game around Stark Industry POI. A lot of elevation. You're seeing a mountain in front of us. There's a big drop in elevation in these cliffs surrounding that POI. At the same time, hey, imagine, hear me out. Imagine if someone knew that someone had white tags, right, where no shield. You do have Venom Smash and Grab. You grab that person out of their safe zone with their partner. You pull them into your build, and then you just get that elim right there. See, those are the kinds of things as you've seen Desire getting that beam down. Wait, stop building out of solo boxes, especially trying to do it old school, sitting up the supply crate. That's just going to be an easy bait, easy feed, easy 5 points. But the point I want to make, I just feel like right now we're just scratching the surface with these Marvel powers. Everyone just goes, oh, Unibeam. I mean, that's what Ninja said at GlitchCon. He's like, Unibeam is by far the best Marvel power. But hey, you can't sleep on the other ones.
I'm wondering how long it's going to take until we get players who are reactively utilizing Storm's Whirlwind Blast against the Unibeam. I think there's no reason not to have a player holding that, particularly in the late game situation. You have the ability to negate incoming projectiles in place, but more importantly, right, you can hold a Whirlwind Blast and a Unibeam, bait somebody intentionally into double Unibeaming you, negate the Unibeam, and then just turn around and do it back. Like, there's levels to this, right? And we need to talk about who's going to actually be able to capitalize on those opportunities. We've so far just generally seen people defaulting down to the comfort of long-range Unibeam. It does a ton of damage. It goes through builds. Seems pretty obvious. And here's the combo. 1 and 2 right away. And then they're going to try and follow it up with the spray pattern. Not sure if they were able to combine and connect. And you can see the player trying to disengage immediately. The Bramble Shields coming out, but it's only a matter of time before you get chased down.
And there, yeah, you can definitely get your Bramble Shield from group broken. So you have to be sure you can kind of look at that. And we talked about that Mad Cat, no doubt. Now they're down to soft mats here. And with a great use of offensive power, right there with the Silver Surfboard. I love that. We all talked about its mobility, but the ability to break through builds is kind of like a bang. Yikes, man. That was a good thing right there. Able to pick up a Elim using the Silver Surfboard, turning your attention immediately. You know that call was like, yo, there's a guy right here, double box, double Unibeam, bang. Easy Elims. And that is what I kind of feel like the locomotion of you, that momentum going forward.
$2,000,
that is what the kind of thing that's
3-1.
going to set you apart and get you up that leaderboard very quickly.
And we've talked about it just time and time again, why those are kind of the bread and butter of these competitive players. They've had a lot of experience with the Silver Surfboard, utilizing it in the early days of the arena mode. You can see if you insta-cancel when you go off, it will still end up popping those builds. It was able to fly in behind the player. And of course, the Unibeam with tracking down builds make it so it's hard to kind of want to stand out your base, but it's going to end up being necessary. But now we're going to hop on board with some names I haven't seen in a hot minute. We talk about Fall Skirmish. We're going to throw it back to two people actually competed in it. We're on board here with Dark Areno and Dollar C, and they're doing the old-fashioned way right now. A good headshot snipe into the AR confirmation to get the Elim there. That's their second one so far. 21 points on the day. So now they're going to try and close the gap here. Good little wall replace out, but it looks like the other player is able to just disengage.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. I think these kind of modes, these kind of competition brings back the old names. And nice breakdown with that Thor's hammer, breaking down that metal box. And before you know it, that's going to signal to the rest of the lobby. We talked about lobby focus and the FNCS competitive seed with the beams of the AR. But you're going to get Big Daddy Beam, a.k.a. Iron Man Zuna Beam in your front door. So be careful here. But now we're going to get a start pawn ending. And we've been seeing throughout this entire FNCS competitive, start pawn endings get kind of dicey, especially with all this water mass. But you have, like I mentioned, the surrounding mountains can cause a little bit of chaos too. So that is what's so dangerous of the start industry in-game.
Yeah, you see Yochai there getting a Mjolnir strike directly on top of his noggin from the heavens. Thor's hammer dropping down.
Und das Ding ist, er kann von rechts einfach gesnappt werden.
Looks like he's trying to set up for an ambush play. He might be setting up for Thor's Mjolnir strike into a pump right now. He does still have 40 builds as well as the Silver Surfer here. The player right next to him does own this wall. He's currently sitting on a Silver Surfer board. He did pull the next zone, so he doesn't really want to show that he's here. Dollar C also boxing up right next to him. He could opt to insta-cancel. Nope, instead just going to open and edit the wall. And Dollar C gets caught
Okay, ich muss sagen, das war
Good little ambush there from Sam sitting inside of his old builds. Now he's going to build out from the excess material Dollar C had there. Have a good little position and base to move into this fourth zone.
Wait a minute, this ain't Iron Man. This ain't, that can't be. That looks like a crash dummy, unless Tony Stark working on some sort of mock, I don't know, some prototype suit. I doubt that's Iron Man. But hey, 17 points, a really good start so far. I know this is most likely early throws into the queues here as we're going to go forward and kind of keep track. And Look at the zone. Zone 4 is revealed a lot of it. That's what I mentioned. Start pawn can eat up a lot of these safe zones going forward, and that's where a competitor's going to have to figure out. But as you see, they're kind of trying to figure out, trying to find somebody with this unibeam. They got it ready to go. You see that glow from the chest there, from the big pug. And man, what a scary thought of having a pug dog with the unibeam power-up. It looks like they're going to kind of set this up. Now, it's not really necessary to edit because it won't go through. They just want to get a clearer sight, and there it is. Clear beams going through, connecting with that elim.
Clear beams can't lose there, but the counter beam coming in, and we talked about it. They know it's on cooldown. You can't return fire, so you better scavenge those resources quickly and then get out of dodge, create a different angle where you're not going to be able to get hit. You can see the fake Iron Man throwing it down. Some of the excess mini shields he has there for the big pump. They're going to try and create a little bit more space, but they need to be careful because they're a little bit far
13 und 11
in
Punkte.
terms of the fourth zone. So even if they pull half and half, other players are going to have priority over them on the top.
Das heißt, 2 Kills, ja. Die hatten vorher einen Punkt, what the?
Zone will intersect outside of the safe zone, and then we'll have the full moving circles for the late game. As we get a nice little panoramic shot, shout out to the observers, giving us a lay of the land and figuring out where everyone is currently positioned over the start pond. As we see $2K 3 in a 1, keeping a unibeam there and going to require some chug splash assistance from his teammate.
One thing I want to bring out, this kind of reminds me of the Chapter 1 days of the Infinity Blade with the planes coming in. Natural terrain will be a great defense against the unibeam. Having that backside to you, so it's going to kind of free up, you can't unibeam through a mountain. So, I'm interested to see where our competitors kind of pony up next to, as you're seeing a unibeam. Oh my goodness, a wood build, one by out in the open. The unibeam comes through, but luckily that person was able just to get away by the skin of their teeth. And now they're running away from the great aggression from Snipe and $2K. But hey, they're getting a lot of attention. They don't have a crazy rotation that's half in and half out. But that half in and half out goes up a mountain, Sundown.
We talked about it there. Having the priority on that side is going to be so huge, but the Silver Surfer board being used right away to get over on the 4 side of the zone. 4 eliminations, trying to make it 5 as the Bramble Shield will finally get broken there. Not going to give Iron Man the respite he needed. Groot letting down Tony Stark when he needed it the most. Suit gonna fail there. The mock, whatever, not good enough on the crash test dummy. He does his job going down, queuing right back on up, and now you can see Darko Reno trying to do whatever he can. We saw Dollar Seat go down early. Here was who he went down to. Sem 46 still has priority position, so we saw in our first match a brilliant solo effort to clutch it up. To Sem repeat and just show how much EU is really the land of the solo player. As right now you can see trying to line up with Minister right on the edge, and Yochai not going to dodge it, going down just like the Yochai there. Brilliantly done. As Jeremy now.
Vielleicht ein Internet liegt das safe.
Low ground, trying to get some kind of pressure.
Free elim essentially.
Schreibt mir bitte
not
nicht,
having to use any kind of resources. Now your Thor's hammer's on the cooldown. Knowing the range of the Thor's hammer was just able to really get that cleanly, and there it is. Tan going in with the unibeam, and now you're seeing the elims popping off left and right. The zone is going to pull back up northwest here. It's going to go down into the river. So all our competitors who are kind of jockeying for that high ground on the mountain, now they're all of a sudden they have a really strong, like a dangerous rotation to make here. But Tan in here and sitting in the front zone priority, doing the old school way of getting in boxes, using their arsenal, laying down those beams again, the elims. But I like that they have zone priority. Now the question is, if they catch someone going up for height, hey, unibeam, that is one of
Nach der Runde, Leute, muss ich leider offline. Aber ich hoffe, den Stream hat euch dann dieses Mal gefallen. Morgen, Leute, ganz normaler Stream, weil ich möchte morgen lange pennen, so, wisst ihr, dafür müsste ich halt früher pennen.
Don't forget, once we're into the top 25, each duel eliminated is 1 point. Each elimination is worth 5. As Nike watches somebody meet their maker directly below him as he does the Silver Surfer rotation, proving he has a little bit of the better Surfer powers there. He's just going to box up, still has a third of his
bitte
available
schreibt
builds,
nicht.
trying to find an angle, good AR spray.
Wie viele Leute? Teams 11, okay. Iron Man kassiert.
As well as I believe there was a Mjolnir strike to break out the builds. He's going to be forced through. That was half of his remaining builds. Instead, going to shockwave towards the opposite side. Siphon comes through.
Als Unibeam einfach kassiert, Digga.
Elimination in a nice little brief.
Okay, so ein rotiert schon. Digga, aber ey, im Finale, ne, auch bei FNCS, ne, die bauen so viel.
Technology, so a shockwave grenade able to disengage to kind of survive just a little bit longer against the Marvel powers. So it's so fascinating to see all that happen. Is Darkarino, who's lost Dollar C a long time ago, is still doing this business. 56 points and 69 points, looking really solid right now, and the ability to pick up a Unibeam. We talked about it, Sundown, in the FNCS Trio competitive. You are going to have to rack up points where you have no business racking up points, but Darkino could pull a thing and get that solo clutch victory royale.
And Darkarino again pulled priority zone 3 times in a row there.
Der ist mir einfach eingebaut, Digga. Und dann auf einmal Free Kill. Free Kill einfach.
Up on the high ground, but making sure he's covering his points, and now it's a straight up 1v2, and he says, well, to the skies we go. Silver Surfer board up, not gonna find it. Unibeam straight up knocking him down. He's going at him. He's saying, are you sure you guys are the two? Because I want this shockwave up on the high ground as well, utilizing the hit fire spray.
Der hat die Zeit gewonnen, Digga.
50, as well as a 30 right.
Oh mein Gott, der hat wirklich alle geholt, Digga.
Excuse me? Okay. What?
The 1v2, but we talk about utilization of Marvel powers. Silver Surfer's board up to the top. Iron Man straight up into the sky with the Unibeam, and then swaps over to the Fortnite world. Shockwave grenade up, and then brilliant hipfire shots with the pump wall replace. The Tfue classic, and despite Dollar C getting picked off by Sem 46. Best Marvel superhero
Krass, Leute.
cosplay there to secure
Das
the
war's dann
victory
von
royale.
meinem Livestream von heute, Leute. Morgen sehen wir uns wieder, morgen Mittag, Leute. Und wir sehen uns dann bis dahin, Leute. Sag ich mal. Okay, nee, das ist alles mit Insta und so. Von daher, Leute, sagen wir dann mal ciao, bis morgen und wir sehen uns.